Collecting tailed beasts became a massive plot point around the time Shippuden began. The Akatsuki had appeared in the previous part of Naruto, most prevalently appearing with the duo of Itachi and Kisame. We didn't know much about them except they were after Naruto for some reason. We later found out what Kishimoto was cooking and how important the tailed beasts are in this scenario. So now we return to the Akatsuki's first real interaction with the story, that being right after Konoha Crush and into the search for Tsunade Arc. What would have happened had Naruto been captured? Welcome to the Amagi. Before we begin, only 25% of our viewers are subscribed, so if you're a fan of the video, please like and double check if you are subscribed. And with that out of the way, let's get into the video. Blue skies. Blue skies with nary a cloud to be seen, an endless ocean of still waters that exist above the heads of all, piercing white light giving form to all colors pouring down from above. Below on the ground was the shape of a large village. Now, anyone who likes Naruto knows what village this is. It can only be Konoha, easily detected by the faces carved into a cliff like Mount Rushmore. Of course, the village was not what Itachi was staring at. His gaze remained fixed on the skies above. He was inside his own head, thinking about what he was about to do, and who he was about to do it to. "The Nine Tails is here," a voice said behind him. Itachi turned around and looked back to see Kisame Hoshigaki, the wrapped blade Samehara resting over his shoulder. Kisame looked over the village.
"I bet being here doesn't bring back very many good memories, does it? Probably makes you feel uncomfortable. I can only imagine how you feel. I know I would hate being back in Kitty if we had gone there instead."
Itachi looked over. "It is troublesome. I recall going to Kitty with Juzo before you and I became a team. Juzo was so distraught about it that we had to make a brother's pact. We vowed that if for any reason we were captured by the shinobi of our own respective villages, that we would kill each other to ensure we'd never have to go back." Kisame thought about it.
"I suppose you and Juzo were never strong enough to be done in by yourselves."
Itachi scoffed. "You're just a different beast, Kisame. Sometimes I think you want to die by your own hand." Kisame looked over.
"Going out on my own terms in spite of the shinobi trying to kill me. They don't get the satisfaction of killing me. And besides, death by sharks. Far cooler than rotting away in some prison, or being stabbed in the heart by some chunin who got lucky."
Itachi looked over at Kisame with a half-cocked grin. "We're here to do a mission, all right?" Kisame nodded.
"Though I doubt you'll be of any help," he said.
Itachi looked over. "And why would you say that?"
"I know you, Itachi. This is the village where your kid brother lives. The moment we step in here, I'll be left to find the Nine Tails alone while you measure your brother's vessel, or whatever the heck you call it."
Itachi hadn't thought about it. He was eager to visit Sasuke and see what kind of progress he had made, but he hadn't previously been willing to do so for fear it might draw attention to him while on task. But now Kisame had all but given him approval. Itachi would go down to the village, leaving Kisame to do his work. As Itachi wandered through the village, he headed for where he knew Sasuke was living, a small apartment. Doors were locked, of course, and the balcony was closed, but this sort of thing hardly stopped a shinobi. Through ninjutsu, he would break his body down into smoke or shadows and simply pass through the cracks before reforming. Standing there, he looked around. It was quite the nice bedroom. It had a sort of modern styling to it, yet it felt homey. Of course, it smelled like Sasuke. This brought back fond memories. The last time he smelled this was in the Uchiha compound, back when things were simple, back before the shinobi world began to muddy the waters of life. He looked around. There were no pictures of Sasuke or his family anywhere. The room looked barely lived in despite it being the home of his brother. Correction, there was one photo Itachi discovered. Lying face down on the table beside a little CRT television was a picture of Sasuke and his team. The image showed Kakashi Hatake standing over the trio smiling. Below on the bottom was Sakura smiling brightly, Naruto to the right side giving skunk eye to Sasuke, and Sasuke on the left not really looking like he cared to be there. "Well, I found the target," Itachi thought to himself as he looked at Naruto in the image. He put the picture back down and turned around and prepared to exit. Sasuke wasn't here, but that picture did give him an idea. Wherever Kakashi was, that's where Sasuke and Naruto would likely be. Itachi made his way to Kakashi's home where he broke in and found the old Anbu commander. "Itachi, where's your team, Kakashi?" Itachi asked bluntly. "You stay away from Sasuke," Kakashi said. "I won't let you interfere with his future." Itachi stood there and listened. To be honest, he admired Kakashi for caring about his brother so much, but he couldn't let his emotions get the better of him. He had to continue playing his part, or everyone would realize the truth, and he couldn't let that happen. "Ironically, it's not Sasuke we're after," he said, a subtle hint to Kakashi that he hoped would reach the upper echelons of the Leaf, telling them what it was the Akatsuki were truly after. He then cast Kakashi under Tsukiyomi, something that Kakashi managed to resist a bit as he rushed Itachi to attack him. Itachi was surprised, but he managed to get Kakashi off of him, knocking him into the wall, leaving him unconscious. What was that? Itachi wondered. Did he resist Tsukiyomi? How did he do that? Itachi carefully examined Kakashi. Willpower alone? Or is it the Sharingan he has? Itachi decided that it no longer mattered. He had something to do. Using his Sharingan to dive into Kakashi's mind, he began searching for clues as to where his team might be. He discovered that he had planned to go out for coffee with Sasuke, but also found that Naruto had left the village with Jiraiya on their way to Tanzaku quarters to find Tsunade, which would be information that Kisame would need later. For now, Sasuke was Itachi's goal. Leaving Kakashi's room, Itachi made his way out into the streets, his black cloak and bamboo coolie hiding his identity, though the red clouds no doubt drew attention, especially to any who might have heard rumors about what those red clouds meant. He kept to the shadows and headed for the cafe. There he saw Sasuke. Itachi couldn't approach him here, he was too exposed, so he simply waited for some time. Eventually, Sasuke, thinking he'd been stood up by Kakashi, stood and began to leave. As he left, Itachi followed. He waited for Sasuke to turn down an abandoned alleyway before making his move. He would simply body flicker past Sasuke and stand in front of him. Sasuke would look up at him. Itachi read the emotions on his face. At first, he was confused, then cautious, then upon looking at his face was filled with terror, and finally filled with rage. Sasuke's Sharingan activated. To Tomoe, still no Mangekyo. Pathetic. Sasuke attacked Itachi. He tried to kick him, but Itachi grabbed his ankle midair and used it to slam Sasuke against the wall. Sasuke was stunned for a moment, but would get his bearings. He would stand and come at Itachi again, only to have his wrist broken and pushed against the wall by his throat. It hurt Itachi so much to do this. He nearly lost composure when he heard the audible crunch in Sasuke's arm. All the same, Itachi held it together. After all, he was playing a role, and Sasuke would be okay. It would be so easy for me to kill you right now, Itachi said. But you haven't yet reached your full potential. It would be useless for me to continue this attack. If I ever wish to know how truly powerful I am, I need a worthy opponent. I think you need to seethe a little more. I think you need to remember why you hate me. Itachi would suddenly cast Tsukiyomi on Sasuke, causing him to relive the murder of their parents on loop. He let Sasuke drop to the ground. Itachi felt even worse now. How could he do this? He stepped back and looked down at his little brother. This is for the best, he told himself. This is for the best, he said once more, reassuring himself that what he was doing was good. He'll grow to hate me, and then one day when he's strong enough, he'll avenge his clan. He'll kill me. He'll be a hero. He'll be happy. Itachi began to turn and walk away. As he did, he found Kisame squatting on a wall above them. Itachi looked up. Kisame was smiling, his pointed teeth showing through his nefarious grin. You found your brother. I suppose he wasn't yet ripe enough. Itachi shook his head. He still has more untapped potential. I'll give him more time to cultivate it. For now, let's focus on Naruto. I know where he's going. Oh, Kisame questioned. You were too busy to help me investigate, but during your little errand, you simply stumbled across this? Itachi wasn't sure what Kisame was getting at. Was this a subtle jab at how obviously he and the rest of the Akatsuki didn't trust Itachi? He wasn't going to ask about it. Frankly, they shouldn't trust him. But since they allowed him to stay, perhaps they didn't fully grasp his relationship with Konoha. Itachi elected to simply explain. Sasuke and our target Naruto are both genin under Kakashi Hatake. While searching through Kakashi's mind for Sasuke's location, I stumbled across Naruto's. He and Jiraiya, the Toad Sage of the legendary Sannin, are headed to Tanzaku quarters. If we leave now, we might be able to catch up to them. Kisame nodded. And so the two began to leave the village. As they did, Itachi reflected on the death of Hiruzen. Hiruzen was one of the few people in Konoha that Itachi felt he could trust, and now that he was dead, who would take his place? There was really only one option available for that position, and Itachi didn't really like it. Danzo Shimura. Of course, Itachi knew that Naruto and Jiraiya were on their way to Tanzaku quarters in search of another Sannin, Tsunade. Itachi knew from the memories of Kakashi that they were going to recruit her for the position of Kage. She would be far better for the village than Danzo, and would be far better for Sasuke as well. Itachi knew that he had to capture Naruto to sell it. Itachi was in a precarious position. He was currently in the business of spying on the Akatsuki for Konoha. But what was funny was that it seemed that the masked man, Tobi, was the true leader of the Akatsuki, and he knew this and allowed him to stay anyway, provided that he continued to do his job and didn't blatantly betray the Akatsuki. This meant that Itachi would need to capture Naruto for real. None of this beating around the bush. As the two continued to walk down the road toward Tanzaku quarters, Kisame spoke. Why is it that you focus on Sasuke so much? Itachi looked over, seeking either elaboration or for Kisame to shut up. Kisame chose elaborate.
You want to fight him, but you always say he's not ready. What will make him ready?
Itachi took a deep breath and let out a sigh, as if he didn't want to explain it, but felt he had to some degree. The Mangekyo Sharingan.
Why does that matter?
Kisame asked. The Mangekyo Sharingan is the strongest a Sharingan can naturally become. That being said, if a Sharingan user faces another Sharingan user, and that Sharingan user possesses a Mangekyo, the one with the Mangekyo will win. Kisame scoffed.
That seems awfully conceited. You make out the Mangekyo Sharingan to be some invincible power.
Itachi said nothing. Kisame stopped him. Itachi had already declared the Mangekyo Sharingan to be invincible to a degree against those without it, and now Kisame had to confront him about it.
You act like your precious Sharingan is so special. What makes you think it's so invincible?
Itachi now found himself forced to explain why he felt the way he did. The Mangekyo Sharingan offers techniques others generally can't learn, such as my Amaterasu.
Anyone could learn fire style, Kisame stated.
That's true, Itachi said, but nobody but a Sharingan user can create Amaterasu. It's the undying black flames that consume all, the fire release of all fire releases. One might even call it a blaze release. It simply can't be mimicked. Then there's my Tsukiyomi. There's no other genjutsu more powerful. These are the abilities of the Mangekyo Sharingan, irreplaceable and natural to the user. But that's not the only thing it can do. It can create an armored shell of chakra around the user in the shape of a person. This is the Susanoo. It is nearly indestructible by normal standards, and when supplemented with legendary weapons and items from the past, it can become invincible. Kisame stood there with his arms crossed.
So, you say that your Susanoo's invincible, huh? That should mean that not even Lord Pain can destroy it. If you're capable of beating Lord Pain, then why don't you? Why don't you become the next leader of the Akatsuki?
Itachi rolled his eyes and continued to walk. Kisame followed behind.
Answer the question, Itachi.
Itachi looked back. Because I can survive Pain doesn't mean I can beat him. And maybe I don't want to be the leader, or maybe I admit that we need him. Whatever the case, there are plenty of reasons why I won't overthrow Pain. One of those is loyalty. Kisame choked a scoff.
So that's it, huh? You want Sasuke to achieve his Mangekyo simply so you can have the thrill of beating him, or proving yourself capable of breaking through the invincible Susanoo?
Itachi thought about it as they walked. That would be one reason, yes, but there's another. Not only would I get the joy of knowing that I can destroy even the powerful Susanoo, but I'd receive a prize for doing so. A badge proving my visual prowess to be the most powerful in all of the Uchiha clan.
Prize?
Kisame asked. Itachi was glad he had rehearsed what to say beforehand. Even if he never planned on doing these things, having a villainous goal sold the idea that he was as evil as the others believed him to be. Do you know the rumor of the Mangekyo Sharingan?
What rumor?
Itachi then continued. After overuse, the Mangekyo will go blind. It's said that its power is so great that it seals itself away to keep from being overused. For generations, we've had to measure out how to use them, and overuse results in blindness and loss of abilities. That was until Madara Uchiha discovered the truth. When a blood relative, generally a sibling, awakens a Mangekyo, should their other sibling with Mangekyo take their eyes for themselves, they will awaken the Choku Tomoe Sharingan, the eternal Mangekyo Sharingan. An eye that, despite frequent use, will never lose its light. Kisame began to understand.
You plan to prove yourself by defeating the only Uchiha who could possibly be a danger to you. And as a prize, you'll take your brother's eyes to gain this never-blinding ocular jutsu.
Itachi nodded. Let's hope he hurries up though. I'm already starting to go blind and I can't wait forever. Kisame let out a laugh.
You Uchiha, all you ever do is focus on your dojutsu. I think that's all the whole world ever does. Somehow you think that just because you have special eyes, you can never be defeated. You're far from invincible, and professing yourself as so does nothing but invite challenge and devastation. Never overestimate yourself just because you have special eyes, and never underestimate your opponents, or the only person walking away with the prize of a Sharingan will be someone like me.
As they continued to walk, they discovered Jiraiya and Naruto resting at an outpost just before continuing to Tanzaku quarters. Knowing that their best chance of success was to take Naruto without Jiraiya knowing, Itachi set up a plan. You see, Jiraiya wasn't exactly a mysterious person. He was boisterous, outgoing, and worst of all, he never used a pen name when writing his novels. Having skimmed over one once, he realized the truth about Jiraiya. He was a sex-crazed maniac. You'd have to be to write the kind of uninspired slop he did. Jiraiya was far from a true author. Anyone could write a story about two lovers in the heat of the night. Few people read it for the plot anyway. But that being said, this book offered insight into Jiraiya, and was a blatant announcement to his most dangerous weakness of them all, a weakness Itachi planned to exploit. As they walked through the outpost, Itachi sought out a woman that objectively could be called gorgeous, someone he assumed to be Jiraiya's type. Upon finding her, he would simply begin to persuade her to interact with Jiraiya, all while slowly casting her under a settled genjutsu. This had to be the easiest genjutsu of all time to cast. There were a few things human cared more about than food, shelter, and love, so all he had to do was convince her to do what she already wanted to, and so she did. From a distance, Itachi watched as she flirted with Jiraiya. He watched the old Toad Sage's reaction, going from curious to shocked to flustered, before finally reaching full circle and submitting. As the two walked off, Itachi shook his head that one of such stature as Jiraiya could be so easily swayed off mission. He was truly unworthy of his title. Itachi would slowly make his way to the room Jiraiya and Naruto had rented. A quick pick of the lock and the door was open. They stepped in to find Naruto sleeping in bed. Itachi pointed to him and Kisame walked over, grabbing him. Turning around, they began to leave. As they did, however, a voice caught them from behind.
You know, that woman truly was a beauty. She was kind as well. The perfect kind of girl if you ask me. She made me feel so handsome. That's how I knew something was wrong.
Itachi looked back to see Jiraiya. Jiraiya continued.
The thing is, girls never approach me. I'm getting old, covered in warts, and even I know I smell bad. The most suspicious thing you could do to me is have a woman talk to me first.
Itachi looked back at Kisame and then to Jiraiya. Seems I underestimated you. I'll have to adopt new expectations.
Or you could surrender, Jiraiya
said as he raised his hands to a shrug.
That's an option.
Itachi shook his head. Kisame, get out of here with the boy.
No, you don't,
Jiraiya said as he stepped forward. Itachi would stop Jiraiya getting in the way. You'll have to deal with me first if you wish to go after my partner. Jiraiya sneered.
I'll fold you like a rusty beach chair.
Jiraiya tried to strike Itachi. Itachi would leap back. Creating distance between the two, Itachi would wait for Jiraiya's next move. Jiraiya would begin to form hand signs and then a fireball jutsu. Itachi would respond with one of his own. It was then that as he did so, Jiraiya called upon Fukasaku and Shima and achieved Sage Mode. He weaved more hand signs.
Wind release, toad oil flame bullet.
Shima and Fukasaku would then add in wind-style chakra as well as spitting toad oil. This increased the flammability of the technique. In response, Itachi would retaliate with the Materasu, using it to supplement his fireball. This caused them both to push back on the other. As they both ran out of flames to spit, Itachi wasted no time jumping through the flames and attacking Jiraiya personally, using a kunai to his advantage. Jiraiya would raise his hands, pushing the blade and arm of Itachi to the side with the pad of the back of his hand. He would then go in for a strike to Itachi's face, which Itachi would catch. Pushing each other away, Jiraiya would utilize summoning Toadmouth Bind to summon the esophagus of a toad to his location, engulfing the entire hall while they were standing.
It's over now, Jiraiya said. Nobody's ever escaped Toadmouth Bind.
Itachi looked down and found that his feet were sticking to the ground.
Don't even bother. I can control this esophagus perfectly. That means I can easily crush you at any moment. Now give me back Naruto and I'll let you leave.
Itachi looks around at the inside of the mouth. I won't. Jiraiya clicks his tongue.
Suit yourself.
The esophagus begins to close in on them. Itachi summons his Susanoo to catch it and prevent it from crushing him. As he did this, he used a Materasu to begin burning away at the esophagus. This surprised Jiraiya, as the toad that provided said esophagus was supposed to be able to breathe fire, and therefore should be immune to fire damage. For the safety of the toad who donated the esophagus, Jiraiya desummoned it so as to not get the creature killed. Jiraiya then had to contend with the Susanoo, however. Itachi's Susanoo struck out at Jiraiya. Jiraiya dodged out of the way and began spitting toad oil on the Susanoo. After that, he threw shuriken with paper bomb tags attached to them. This caused a large detonation. As the smoke began to settle, Jiraiya believed that he saw Itachi lying on the floor dead. He began to approach and saw the body suddenly turn into a log. Substitution jutsu. Jiraiya looked up and saw Itachi there looking down at him with his Mangekyo activated. With this, Jiraiya was cast under Tsukiyomi.
Ah, crap. I'm getting too old for this,
was the last thing he said before succumbing to the genjutsu. As Jiraiya went down, Itachi landed on the ground, panting heavily, each of his eyes bleeding profusely. He wiped the blood from them and felt as if his vision were failing for a moment. He blinked a couple of times and felt his senses starting to return. He would look around and find nobody to watch. Walking to a nearby bathroom, he would enter it and attempt to flush his eyes. He tried to get the blood out of them to not obstruct his vision further. Looking to the white color of the walls, he could already see a new grouping of floaters hovering in his vision. He had to be at the halfway point in his Mangekyo. It wouldn't be much longer before they started to dim. Leaving the bathroom, he followed after Kisame and caught up with him just outside of the small outpost. "You still got the kid?" Itachi asked. Kisame held him up. Itachi looked at Naruto. "That's the target, all right." They then began to make their way back to the base. Naruto was kept sedated the entire time to limit the amount of squirming he could do. As they brought him in, Kisame called out to Pain.
"Hey, Lord Pain, look at what we brought."
The ring-eyed man would look down at Naruto, who was now starting to wake. "Lay him over there and strap him down. We'll begin the removal process immediately." Itachi couldn't help but speak up about something on his mind. "Pardon me, Lord Pain, but for what reason did you have us capture this boy? He's the bearer of the Nine Tails, correct?" Pain nodded. "It is for that reason and that reason alone that you've captured him." "That I know," Itachi said. "What I don't know is why him first. We haven't even captured the One Tail, and as far as I know, you can't put the Nine Tails into the statue until you have the other 8 beasts." Nagato understood Itachi's confusion. "Understandable. We're going to extract the Nine Tails from the boy and seal it away. We're not going to put it in the statue yet. We can't. But when an opportunity presents itself, we must take the Jinchuriki." "Where will you seal it?" Itachi asked. "That is for only Tobi to know," Pain said as he turned and walked away. Itachi stood there and watched as Kisame finished tying Naruto down. Itachi walked over and looked down upon Naruto. A part of him felt truly bad for the boy. He wanted to help him, to free him. Watching as the boy began to come to, Itachi couldn't help but feel as if he were killing Sasuke. This hurt Itachi quite a bit. He couldn't understand why, but he felt that this boy was similar to Sasuke in a strange sort of way. It was odd. It was like he felt that this boy was a brother to Sasuke, but despite that, he didn't feel like a brother to Itachi. He couldn't explain this feeling, he just knew what he felt. As Naruto came to, he began struggling against his bindings. "It's no use. Don't bother resisting." Naruto looked up.
You're Sasuke's brother, Itachi."
Itachi nodded. Naruto continued.
How could you do that to your clan? To Sasuke?"
Itachi shook his head. "I don't expect you to understand."
"What are you doing to me?"
Naruto asked as he continued to struggle, finding himself unable to move. "We're going to remove the tailed beast from inside of you." Naruto's eyes widened.
"Wait, what? If you do that, I'll die."
Itachi nodded. "Probably, yes." Naruto's face went pale. He struggled more, but nothing happened. He attempted to form hand signs with one hand.
"Multi-shadow clone jutsu!"
he shouted, but nothing happened. "Don't bother, kid. You're not even old enough to know how to cast one-handed signs." Naruto tried again, and suddenly 3 Narutos appeared. One began targeting Itachi, and the other 2 went about undoing the straps on his arms. Itachi was surprised that Naruto managed to do that. He defeated the clone attacking him and then destroyed the 2 before they could untie Naruto. He then strapped Naruto down even tighter. As Naruto tried and failed again to create a shadow clone, Itachi grabbed him and cast him under Genjutsu. As Naruto fell under, he struggled. Tears rolled down his cheeks. "Please, no, don't kill me. I don't want to die." He began blubbering, crying loudly to Itachi's surprise. "I had so much I wanted to do. Sakura-chan, Sasuke, Kakashi-sensei." He seemed to be calling out the names of his team, hoping that someone would rescue him. This was hard for Itachi to watch. Itachi, either filling his heart with compassion or perhaps uneasiness, cast Naruto under Genjutsu to keep him asleep. Hopefully, Naruto wouldn't know when the end came. Just as he did this, the other members came in. Itachi stood there as they began to surround him. "How will you break the seal?" Itachi asked. "If you can't use the ghetto statue, what will you do?" "You will use your Sharingan to enter his psyche," Pain said. "Find the gate where the Nine Tails is. Unseal it and then escape. As the Nine Tails begins to come out, it will follow the orders of Tobi and will be sealed away by him." Itachi looked down at Naruto. He wanted to beg, plead, ask if there was any other way, but sadly, there wasn't. Itachi knew that, and if he began to show weakness here, if he began questioning it, he knew that the Akatsuki would begin to question his true motives. So Itachi did as commanded and teleported himself into Naruto's mindscape via his Sharingan. Once there, he began walking for a while. There was a large pool of water below his feet that almost seemed like a shallow reflecting pool. As he walked, he eventually came before a cage. He looked up at it and saw the sealing formula. He would walk to it, remove the tag, and then begin to open up the seal. As soon as the doors swung open, the Nine Tails came out. Pulling himself back out, Itachi stepped away as the red chakra in the shape of a fox's head began to emerge from Naruto. As it began to leave, it would be cast under a Genjutsu by Tobi and sealed away into the Kamui realm. Itachi looked down at Naruto and saw him draw his last breath. He wished this didn't have to go this way, but he couldn't betray the Akatsuki, and that meant doing this. If he didn't help here, he'd be considered a traitor, and thus couldn't continue to provide information to Konoha. Without that single bargaining chip, there was no clue what could happen. Chances were Sasuke would end up dead. and Danzo would likely be the next Hokage, so he couldn't take any chances. After the ritual, Itachi would take Naruto out to a beautiful field and bury him there under a tree. As he did this, he wondered what the consequences for his actions could be in the future. As it turns out, there would be quite a few consequences. Sasuke would leave the village and there'd be nobody there to stop him, or even attempt to stop him. They would be unable to stop the Akatsuki from taking Gaara and removing his tailed beast. There'd be nobody preventing Sasori from meeting up with Kabuto and Orochimaru. In the end, Sasori is still killed. Itachi himself would eventually be faced by Sasuke and killed, and Jiraiya would be killed by Pain. Pain likely wouldn't attack the Hidden Leaf Village, although this might still lead to a Kage summit anyway, since they determine what it is that the Akatsuki are after. Sasuke, after being informed by Tobi about what happened to Itachi, would storm the summit and kill Danzo. Killer B would be sent to Turtle Island, and because Naruto doesn't sense the war here, he can't tell B. B will likely stay on the island until further notice. It doesn't matter to the Akatsuki though, as they know where to find enough of the 8 Tails to finish awakening the 10 Tails. They then seal Kurama in. Pain is still alive at this point, but I assume he's defeated by Tobi, who steals his Rinnegan. Obito would absorb the 10 Tails. Ito Tensei Madara would be there watching, but he'd be unable to take the tailed beast for himself. Obito would then prepare to cast the Infinite Tsukiyomi. After doing so, Madara just stands there like nothing's even happening, as Ito Tensei remain unaffected by the Infinite Tsukiyomi. After this though, Black Zetsu would likely cover Obito and transform him into Kaguya, who Madara would fight. Now, Madara is invincible, meaning he can't die. He's strong as well, but in the end I don't see him getting out of Kaguya's dimensions. That being said, Kaguya would devour all life on Earth, re-assimilating all chakra that was spread out. Toneri likely wouldn't be much of a threat to her, as she could easily just destroy the moon he's on and replace it. The issue is between Ishiki, Kinshiki, and Momoshiki. We'll also say Urashiki if you're an anime main. That being said, if she faces these 4, there's no guarantee she survives, but either way, the chakra of the Earth will no longer be Earth's. However, if we still count Sasuke into the situation and assume that the Sage of Six Paths just decides to give Sasuke all of his power, including both seals for the Six Paths Chibaku Tensei, it is possible he could beat Kaguya. It seems unlikely, but it is possible. If this happens, I could see him possibly keeping Ito Tensei Madara around to help him. That is, if he intrigues Madara enough to stay. He would probably launch all the tailed beasts into space, as he had stated he wished to get rid of them. He would likely set up a new world order in hopes of getting rid of the darkness of the shinobi world. I don't know how well that this would float over with Madara, but either way, I think Sasuke by this point would be able to beat Ito Madara and hopefully put him to rest. But when Momoshiki, Kinshiki, Urashiki, and Ishiki all show up, there's no telling if Sasuke would be strong enough to beat them. He could definitely beat Toneri, but these other 4, there's no guarantee, as Naruto had by the time of Ishiki far surpassed Sasuke. And even with Baryon mode, still couldn't beat Ishiki without shortening his lifespan. So I think Ishiki would body Sasuke if it didn't happen sometime earlier. And after this, Ishiki likely passes on to Kawaki, using him as a perfect vessel while disposing of his old body, using it to awaken his own 10 Tails. So whether Sasuke can or can't beat Kaguya, it all ends with Earth becoming a husk anyway. And all this happens just because Naruto ends up captured and killed by the Akatsuki. Well, that's what I think would happen. You see, I went over some of this in Naruto, and I began to wonder what would have happened if Naruto had been captured by the Akatsuki, so I decided to tell a little one-off. I know y'all are used to me doing multi-part series, but I just thought it'd be fun for everyone. But what do you think? Do you agree with this video? Did you enjoy it? If so, tell us about it in the comments. Do you think Sasuke alone could beat all of the Otsutsuki from Kaguya to Ishiki? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the bell to be notified when more videos like this drop. And if you can't wait for more content, check out these videos on screen right now. I'm sure they'll tide you over. Anyway, until next time, peace.